All right, coming to you live from DevWeek Cloud here in Austin, Texas. I'm here with Phillip Carter. Phillip, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing just fine. My name's Phillip. I work for Honeycomb. We are a modern observability tool. And so observability, what does that mean?
Exactly,
Well,
I was going to ask.
It can kind of mean different things to different people. So like if you're coming from like an operations background, you probably care about things like service health, making sure that things are actually up, like service A that is supposed to be talking to service B is like actually talking to service B. It's like talking to the right version of service B. You want to make sure, is something going to go down? How do I know? Like, if we got to go fix something, how do I know what to go and fix and why? And so like observability, kind of a fancy word, but it's like a modern evolution of like monitoring and APM and some of that stuff that you might be more familiar with.
And so you guys work on both for app developers and operations.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Yeah, we do. So the way that it generally works is you generate data in production about like your service and how it's running. And then it gets sent over to Honeycomb, and then you can analyze it and do interesting things with it. So the idea of like you generating data, that can kind of depend on who you are. Like if you're an application developer, you might load up an OpenTelemetry SDK, where OpenTelemetry is, it generates what's called telemetry data for production services. It's a CNCF project. It's the second largest CNCF project out there right now, actually. And so you can generate that data using like an SDK and some APIs, and you're good to go as a developer. But if you're in operations and you're like, okay, I just want to see that everything is doing what I think it's doing. I don't want to have to dive into the source code yet. I don't want to do like a deep investigation, work planning, all that kind of stuff. There are options. So like if you're a Java developer, or if you're using Python, or
you mean like one of these languages
like
here?
one of those languages right there.
Yeah.
You can then install an agent that then runs alongside your application, and it'll do things like track incoming HTTP requests, outgoing requests. It'll like detect if you're using certain libraries and add what's called instrumentation for that. And so it's like a very easy way to get started, kind of just depending on where you're coming from. And so when you have that data and you want to send it to a tool like Honeycomb, now it's like, all right, what do you do with it? So let me just quickly show a few things here. So this is called the homepage. There's a few things that we got here. You can see there's like this spike in latency that you can see here. There's like things called total spans. You can go to status code. You can get a little bit of a dashboard view about what's going on here. I won't go into the core analysis yet. Instead, I want to show something that's going to be likely relevant, especially to people who are owning these services and want to make sure that they're healthy.
And so when you say owning, you mean on the back end?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, on the back end. So for example, there's this tool called SLOs, or service level objectives. And so this is how you define like what the health of your service is, and you can then track, is it actually healthy? And then you can establish what's called a budget of like if certain things are going wrong. So like for example, we have something on latency. Now it's okay if there's a little bit of latency here and there, but if there's a ton of latency all the time, or if like we've done a lot of latency over time and we're going to reach a threshold where it's like, okay, we should probably go in and fix something. How do you know? Right? How can you see over time if you're going to hit this? So we've established a budget of what our acceptable latency is. And if we're going to go to that budget, we have like 27% of our budget left over. Once this reaches a certain threshold, we're going to start getting notifications. It says, hey, you have X amount of time left over before you exhaust your budget. You should plan this work instead of dealing with like a fire drill immediately about what's going on. And so then there's analysis tools where then you can look at what's called the different dimensions of the data. And so this is tracking latency over time. And you can actually see that if I hover over here, there's this thing called /cart/checkout, or the name here, cart checkout. So there's probably this service, the checkout service, seems to be the one causing a lot of latency problems. So now, like just at a quick glance, I'm able to get an understanding of what I should probably go and investigate. And so if I want to go there, I can do this whole group by field thing. And so what this will do is this will actually show me a whole bunch of other stuff. I can start looking at a heat map of some of the different services. I can go into this query builder right here, and I can group by a lot of different fields that are in the data. Or if I'm just exploring things, I'm not looking at an alert or something like that. I just want to look at the same thing, and I want to go here. I can actually get a similar kind of view with a thing called Bubble Up that will allow me to sort of generate the same thing. And I can see similarly cart checkout is showing up here. This is showing a latency spike, and so that's the thing that is relevant here. I can then click in, and this is where application developers come in. Clicking in here will take me to a trace, and this is generated from the actual code of the service itself. And then I can see, okay, there's a lot of time being spent inside of this block called get discounts, and I see it's calling the database a whole lot. This is probably a bug in my code here, but I was able to very quickly identify, okay, something is going on. Okay, we're hitting the database a whole lot. Let me go and investigate. I can go and talk to one of my developers and be like, hey, when was the last time you changed talking to the database? Maybe I could just go and fix it myself. Whereas I started from not knowing anything, and then within a minute, I was able to identify, okay, there's something I can go and take a look at now. And that's kind of what Honeycomb is all about.
Very cool. And so just to end with, what's coming next for Honeycomb? What's the area you want to get into?
There's a couple of cool features coming next that I can't talk about yet, but in October we're going to have an announcement for. I would say at a high level, everything that you saw here is, we like to say that we're the fastest observability tool. We wanted to be the fastest, just straight up. So everything performance related, everything just making what exists
the need for speed.
Need for speed. More improvements in OpenTelemetry, so we're major contributors to the OpenTelemetry project. So ways that you can generate that data, we want to make it as easy as possible. More agents that you can install into your backend to get basic visibility. Better APIs for developers to work with, so that it's as easy as possible for them to add those SDKs and add the tracing and then get on with their lives and continue to add value to their business. Yeah, we got some product announcements coming at KubeCon, and so I would keep your eyes peeled for that.
All right, we'll see you in Detroit for the announcements. Phillip Carter, thank you.